You've probably been in a situation where you're just cleaning your house and you may be vacuuming the floor, and then you hit your toe, you stub your pinky toe on the corner of a chair. And for just a split second, it's all you can think about. The pain in your toe becomes almost like your entire reality, and everything else becomes irrelevant. You've probably experienced that before. Then you try and go about your day and you try and, build a business, or you try and talk to a family member, or you try and continue to clean your house, and it's still persisting. The pain in your toe is in your awareness, and it's like you took for granted not having the pain in your toe. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I came to the conclusion that your hormones, the health of your hormones, is similar to the pain in your toe. Because what hormones are, if you actually don't know, or if you don't know the specifics of what hormones are, is they're basically little messengers in your body that dictate your growth, your mood, your metabolism, and just in general how you feel. If there is an imbalance in your body, and if there is a persistent feeling of things not working correctly in your hormonal profile, then the journey to self-improvement, the journey to self-actualization becomes almost fruitless, because everything becomes way harder than it actually should be. I'm going to share a little story with you now, because I feel like this will really hit home. When I was in high school, I was always a pretty sweaty kid. I was always that kid that used to be kind of nervous because I loved sport. I loved going out onto the school oval, playing rugby, playing football, as any kid loves to do. But I remember specifically being worried because I used to sweat a lot. I always heated up very quickly, and I would always get extremely sweaty feet. I would always get really like swollen feet. I looked almost like Mickey Mouse. As soon as I would run like 10 meters, I would just start dripping in sweat. And I remember it would take me so long to cool down in class afterwards. And these particular symptoms, they continued actually into adulthood. I remember that whenever I would sit down to work on my business, to do something productive, I would always have this like feeling of heat within my body, and my feet would always have this feeling of swelling. It was like water retention in my lower body, and it became extremely hard to actually get anything done. This was until I did a parasite cleanse back in September of 2023, and I realized at that time that the symptoms that I was experiencing for most of my life actually started to die down after a few weeks into this particular cleanse. Now, I'm not specifically saying that the parasites necessarily had anything to do with the symptoms that I was experiencing. However, it wasn't until I actually cut out grains and specifically bread until I noticed that my symptoms started to improve. And so after this period, I did like a full elimination of all of the processed shit that I'd been eating for most of my young life. And so from this, that persistent feeling of like anger and heat and swelling and general inflammation of my body started to disappear. And I swear to you, I could focus 99% more effectively on what I actually wanted to achieve just from this one thing, just from addressing this one issue. And I knew it was a hormonal issue because I did some research and I found out that I had a thing called hypothyroidism, which is basically where your thyroid is more active than it needs to be. And something I find really interesting is these symptoms haven't returned, and it was specifically from one thing. It was specifically from removing the one thing that I know was giving me issues, and that one thing was gluten. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, gluten is the issue, or like gluten is the root of all your problems, because I'm not a certified medical professional. I'm not a scientist. However, when you actually look at the research and you actually find out when people cut out gluten, it's crazy how many anecdotes of people saying that they cured their illnesses and they cured their, mental issues just from this one specific diet change. Because the way that gluten works is it basically rips up your gut microbiome. The way that specifically also Western gluten works is they spray a thing called glyphosate over the wheat, which is a pesticide, herbicide that you are eating. You're literally eating poison when you eat gluten, especially if you live in the West. You know, this inflammation that gluten causes is actually a big reason as to why people get cancer. It's one of the big reasons as to why cancerous tumors and just cancerous cells grow in the body. Imagine for me right now that you have two types of people. The first guy sits down and he eats his protein oats before he does the task. So let's say that they're building a business, they're about to write a script for something. The first guy eats protein oats and he's going to write down the script, and then the second guy just eats eggs and sauerkraut. Which one of those guys do you think is going to work more effectively, be more calm, be more grounded, and be more productive overall? You would actually have to be brain dead to think that the guy that eats the protein oats is going to be more effective than the guy that just eats some eggs and sauerkraut. And so the greatest piece of evidence that we also have in regards to your success being as good as your hormones is in regards to the sex hormones, which is testosterone and estrogen. Because we all know by now, and if you've watched my content for a while, we all know that men that have high testosterone, specifically having high free testosterone, which is your bioavailable testosterone, this is the hormone that you actually use and that actually gives you the dimorphic traits as a man. We know that specifically if you have a high level of testosterone and a high level of sex drive, you experience more business success, more relationship success, and overall a higher level of life satisfaction. And with how much the world is actually toxic and coated in soy, it is now harder than ever to have a high level of testosterone. And everything that you interact with is now destroying it in some way. It's destroying your drive, it's destroying your sex drive, it's destroying a lot of your potential, basically. Synthetic fragrances, oxybenzones, phthalates, parabens, tap water, fluoride, like seed oils, all of these things are destroying your potential to experience the life that you actually want. Sure, we can go into the whole debate about discipline and about, you just need to be disciplined, but if you don't address your hormonal level first, your hormonal health, and you don't address and honor the physical side of your being, and you don't nourish this, then you can't expect your brain to be able to actually want to go after the thing that you want. Like, you can't expect to have the desires in place and actually believe in yourself if your body is so fucked with inflammation. This is the core of why I do what I do, is to make people aware of how they're getting scammed, of how their potential is getting roided and castrated. From all what I just spoke about, I urge you to do your own research on the symptoms that you specifically experience. Now, for me, I was experiencing hypothyroidism. I was experiencing inflammation in my body because I was eating tons of gluten. I was still spraying like cologne, like the really fucking expensive but also cheap at the same time colognes that you would buy at a beauty store that have like tons of chemicals in them. I was still washing my body in chemical soap. And so I was experiencing the symptoms that I experienced. And so I'd urge you to do the research on the things that you need to do based on the things that you experience. That is a big disclaimer. However, I'm now going to go into 2 actionable steps from watching this video that you can implement in the next 7 days. So it's a challenge, 7 days of doing these 2 things. And I can guarantee you, you will experience such a big difference in how you feel. I promise. That is a promise. If you don't, then you can come back to this video and leave a dislike. So the first thing is remove all of the gluten out of your diet. Just get rid of it all. Honestly, no grains, no oats, no protein bars, nothing that specifically has gluten in there. Now, I do eat one thing that has gluten in it, and it's organic sourdough. So I don't think that organic sourdough is that bad because it's like 97% gluten-free. It still has wheat in there, but it's organic, which means it hasn't been sprayed with any pesticide or herbicide. Number 2, remove all of the artificial fragrances and all of the artificial soaps in your household. Literally, if you have them, throw them out right now. I don't care how expensive it is. If you go into your bathroom and you look at the ingredients list on the back of the soap that you use on your body every day, and it has more than 2 ingredients and you don't actually know what those ingredients are on the bottle, for the next 7 days, go out and replace all of the artificial products that you have in your house with natural products. So you might be thinking, oh, what deodorant do I use? I'm going to smell. It's like, okay, you fix your hormones and you won't smell as much. But if you do want to smell nice because you're going on a date, then I recommend a few scents, especially if you're a man. I recommend bergamot essential oil, cinnamon essential oil, and frankincense essential oil. You put a few drops on your wrist and on your neck and you will smell like an absolute weapon. It will smell so good, way better than any of this David Beckham or Versace bullcrap Chinese-made cologne that is destroying your health. Use goat's milk soap, literally just goat's milk and essential oil soap. I get asked all the time where I buy my soap. I just buy it from a local place in the town that I live in that are at a pretty good price point. And that's about it for this video. Leave a like and I will see you very shortly.